think it's kind of exciting that you have a brand new asset class. Hey everybody, this is Digital Asset Guy. I'm here with one of my heroes. I've watched this guy on YouTube and probably X and Facebook maybe for a good almost coming up on a decade. This is Dalin Anderson with High Altitude Investing and the co-host of it was called the Moon Boy podcast. I'm going to interview him today. Nothing that we say on this interview is financial or investment advice, just our own personal thoughts, opinions, philosophies, feelings, things like that for educational and entertainment purposes only. Without further ado, how are you, Dalin?
I'm doing awesome. How are you, Sam?
I'm awesome to be in this Zoom with you. You really don't know how much you helped me in the beginning of my crypto journey when I got in about 2016, mining Ethereum in my dorm room. Went to YouTube University to try to figure out what was going on with this crazy internet money, and found you and Donovan Jolly as well with DIY investing, one of your best friends, right? And I've been watching ever since. How many subscribers do you have now on High Altitude?
I think I'm right around 38,000 subscribers, so not bad,
That's amazing.
It definitely it's brings a lot of joy into my life, and it's really fun to see people learning and growing and making money off some of my calls. And it's been a journey for sure. You embark on anything in life and it's never just a straight line up like you always want it to be in your mind. But it's been extremely rewarding and fulfilling to run the channel. So,
well, that's great. It wasn't just your amazing technical analysis. It was also just you and Donovan as people on the Moon Boy podcast. I remember in the depths of the 2018 bear market. So my friend and I were mining Ethereum. It's just like a video game in our college apartment. And then we started mining maybe the summer of 2016. It was $20, $30, $50, whatever. And then 2017 happens with Ethereum, and I didn't even know what Bitcoin was. I heard my friend
really
built the miner and everything, and I was just like, if we put more parts on that thing, we can mine more of this money and sell it to buy beer, And he's like, kinda, yeah. But then when I started seeing how crazy it was getting, then I started looking on YouTube, but then I found you guys. So then after that, I, of course, round-tripped 2017. And then I found you guys in the depths of the bear market in 2018. And on the Moon Boy podcast, you guys are talking about investing and the emotions of investing and all that. And you really don't know how much it helped me.
Well, good. I'm glad, man. That was a really fun time for both of us to do that podcast during that period of time. And it was such a good opportunity, too, because then 2021 happened, which was really, in a lot of ways, one of the biggest bubbles crypto had ever seen, like pumps, in the market, biggest cycles, I should say. And a lot of coins ran really, really hard in 2021. And so our timing was really good for us to be doing the podcast as much as we were right there, and especially in 2020, right before 2021 happened, and 2019 as well.
Absolutely. It's very exciting. All right. So let's go back to let's start at the very beginning. What was your childhood like? And yeah, I'll just leave it at that. What was your childhood like, Dalin?
So I grew up in a really, really good home. My parents are just some of the best people ever. They're so kind. I've never seen my parents ever get in a single fight, ever.
Oh.
Never raise their voice at each other. So I grew up in a really, really good home with 5 siblings. We all got along really good. 43 acres of forest outside that we could go play in and build forts and, catch frogs and all that kind of stuff. And just really good family too, like my grandparents, my cousins, everybody. I grew up a really, really good home and stuff. So I had a really awesome childhood. Obviously there was times where I was sad, or there's times where I was scared of being alone when I was a kid, like my mom would leave or whatever. I'd be home alone if other people were gone too. I'd be like scared. So there's like moments like that, but overall I had like a really, really good childhood. We were just talking about homeschooling. I was homeschooled. I went to one trimester of high school. Sounds like you were homeschooled as well too,
Yep.
which is pretty cool.
Yeah, I've found in the crypto community, at least in my opinion, I think there's a lot of homeschoolers because you can just tell when someone is not like in the box of society. I'm starting to be able to sense it, and I never knew that about you, even though I've watched your content for like almost 10 years. But today you told me that for the first time, which was interesting. Yeah, I made the
Yeah.
mistake of going back to high school in like 11th grade. And I don't know. I mean, there were good things, but it's a little overrated.
It's so overrated. I made friends. I did go to one trimester of high school. So I made like a ton of friends in that period of time, tons of friends. But I've always been a person that made friends. Even when I was homeschooled and stuff, people think that you're not going to make friends. I've always had a lot of friends, no matter public school or not. But as far as the actual school system goes, the school system is just a total joke. Like it's like so dumb to me. The stuff that they teach, like it's just set up, it's just really dumb. So overall, I had like a really good childhood and stuff until a little bit later in my life. I was kind of just doing some dumb stuff, really, making a lot of dumb choices. Like when I was like 17, 18 years old, my parents were getting a little bit mad at me because I was doing stuff that wasn't good. Smoking like tons of weed. Right, just crazy. And growing up in a very like Christian home, that's like, water and oil kind of a situation, right? Um, so I was sleeping in the shack outside of my family's house and I
Right.
was kind of dabbling with other stuff too. Thankfully, I stopped doing crazier stuff, but I was playing around with drugs basically.
Oh, yeah.
And I was really having a really low point in my life and was like really depressed one night because I was living in the shack. My parents wouldn't let me sleep inside. I was like under, in trouble kind of a thing.
Oh, okay.
Um, and I knelt down and I prayed one night and I prayed for the things that I prayed for like joy and freedom and travel and money and stuff because I was like really sad. I was like, God, I don't know what to do. Like I'm so sad. Like, you know. And he basically told me to take a notebook and to grab a piece of paper and a pencil and write down what I wanted out of my life. And I felt like this overwhelming feeling of peace come over me and that everything was going to be okay. So I grabbed a notebook and a piece of paper and I wrote down, some of those things like health and wealth and travel and joy and all of those kinds of things. And I just felt this overwhelming sense of peace after I did that. So basically after that, what happened was I my parents like I got in another kind of like disagreement with my parents over some stuff and they're like, okay, you can't even stay in the shack anymore. Like it was getting like, you know, it was just a tough time in my life. And so I went and I started sleeping on the side of a riverbank in a tent. But I had my YouTube channel and I only had 300 subscribers. And I knew that my YouTube channel is what I needed to focus all of my energy on. So I started driving my car down from sleeping on the side of a riverbank, driving my car down to town and parking in the parking lot of the Marriott and using their Wi-Fi to record and upload
Yeah,
videos.
there we go. All right.
And so, having like this real like hitting like rock bottom basically moment, but then coming back up a little bit by having a purpose, having something to focus on. So I started making content on a more regular basis, basically on a daily basis rather than a weekly basis. And within probably, I think, 2 months of me doing this, I made like $7,000 off my YouTube channel. I opened a VIP course. I was pretty transparent with people, you know, and about my situation and stuff in a YouTube video I had posted, letting people kind of know, hey, look, this is what's going on. And so when I released my first course, my first product and stuff, I made like $7,000 in like 24 hours or something like that. So I
Oh.
put all the money into the markets, it was mainly in Bitcoin. And then 2017 started to happen. And you were there for 2017. The
Mhm.
market started to pump like crazy. They were just going vertical. And so in 2017, I basically went from sleeping on the side of a riverbank to looking in my bank account and seeing $200,000 in my checking account and having 36 Bitcoin and like just like
That is so.
like just totally like having a girlfriend finally. I'd
There we
wanted a
go.
girlfriend. I'd had other girlfriends before, but um not for a while. I hadn't had a consistent girlfriend for a while. And once I started making good money and stuff and being a little bit successful and everything, I got a girlfriend and it was kind of cool.
That is wow.
So
I did not, uh, I don't know what I thought you were going to say. I've thought about interviewing you for like years, but I don't know what I thought you were going to tell me your story was, but I didn't think it was going to be that. That's even
yeah,
cooler.
yeah, it's kind of crazy, huh?
Wow, that is
Yep.
so neat. I mean, 2017, I didn't even know what I was doing. We were treating it like a video game, but I remember just euphoria was like an understatement. When that alt season popped off and it was like everything in the top 100 went vertical, is what I remember. Stuff I
Yep.
didn't even know about it. Do you think we'll ever see an alt season like 2017 again? Honestly?
I do believe we will. Yeah, I do believe.
Yeah.
2021 kind of came close, but if you look at the chart, the Bitcoin dominance chart, 2017 versus 2021, 2017 was the biggest crypto bull run we've ever had.
Yeah.
Period.
It's kind of funny how the Bitcoin dominance did not drop so much in this last 2024, 25 run. So I'm hoping
It's crazy.
maybe that will happen this next cycle.
Yeah, I think that it will. Yeah, it looks like it's getting overbought. It broke bearish out of a rising wedge. It could go a little higher still, but I think ultimately Bitcoin dominance will end up dropping off a cliff,
Very cool.
again.
All
So
right. So where did you learn your skills for chart analysis?
books, YouTube videos. I had a mentor, a guy named Pygos in my Discord. Shout out if you're listening. He had learned a whole bunch of stuff. So I would get on calls with him over Discord calls, and he would teach me stuff like how to do the Fibonacci. He taught me the big banks by the 786 level, which ended up being like the probably one of the most important things I ever learned in my trading and my analysis because I started to look for those big picture cycles and look for that 786 level. And if you look at Bitcoin, is there a way I can share the chart here
Sure,
easily
yeah,
or
you can share your screen, yeah, that bottom button.
yeah, let me see here. Do cool. So every single Bitcoin bear market has bottomed on the exact same level. People don't realize this, except for the first cycle, the very first cycle of Bitcoin before it had like significant market cap. But if you're looking right here at these big picture cycles right here, and you go from this bottom right here up to this peak right here, you'll notice the Bitcoin bottomed at this 786 level. So my mentor basically taught me that the 786 level is where the big banks buy.
Yeah.
And so when Bitcoin started to fall here in 2018, I thought maybe it could bottom at the 618, but it went down to the 786. And once it hit that 786 level, I just knew, okay, this is truly the bottom. You know, the 618 didn't hold good enough, But once we tested that 786, I knew for a fact that was the bottom on Bitcoin. And then again, right here, from this peak bottom up to this peak right here, right onto the 786 level again on
Wow.
that cycle. So that's where the big banks buy, also in the stock market too. If you go look at the NASDAQ at the bottom of the internet bubble right here, just zooming out a little bit, you can see this cycle. This is the internet bubble pop. If you go from the bottom to the top, the 786 level is where the market bottoms out, right? So that's where the big banks place their buy orders. Unless it's altcoins are more volatile. They get destroyed in bear markets, so they go down to these lower. You see I have these extra ones added here that aren't even technically on the fib tool for TradingView. If you double click, you can add other tools here, and that 92% and the 88% also are areas where altcoins bottom, and so that's where I put those onto this retracement, because that's where the altcoins have a tendency to bottom from their big picture cycles, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, he taught me that. I learned also, I bought courses. I spent thousands of dollars on courses and stuff like that from other people that talk crypto. There's YouTube channels, like I said, just basically everything that I could possibly get, whether it was about the stock market, whether it was about crypto. I got as much information as I possibly could.
Wow. That is
Yep.
fascinating. I've never really done any training on chart analysis. I've just kind of, I've watched you and some other chart analysts, blockchain backer and people, but my biggest strength has been just my own like intuition and like with XRP on this bear market. Somehow I was able to go in and I bought it that the night that it went down to about $1.16 is where I bought it. And I think on a lot of the exchanges it's they have it at $1.20, but I just do it on like emotion and instinct. And I've been telling myself I need to get more educated on chart analysis, and I plan on doing that in the future. But anyway, I've just watched you guys and kind of
Yeah,
been,
join my VIP. No.
well, yeah. What are your thoughts on XRP right now without giving any, crazy numbers or anything?
Oh, it's gonna go to 1 billion. No, I'm just kidding. If you click on the bottom here and go up to the top, look at that. And now that big institutions are here, a lot of these altcoins are starting to behave like how Bitcoin did back in the day. And so they're behaving more like a mature market would. And XRP tested the 786 on this level. So now there's a couple different ways you could look at this. People have different theories about whether the market's going to go down lower, 4-year cycles, all that kind of stuff. To be honest with you, I'm not big on the 4-year cycle because no market ever does this forever. No market just goes like this forever.
Yeah.
You know, if you study any cycle ever, you're going to find that it breaks out of a previous pattern and into a newer, bigger pattern. Let me just pull up NVIDIA real quick to show you is a really good example of something that people would have expected a 4-year cycle to continue to happen, even though this was technically a 5.5-year cycle with NVIDIA. But you can see the cyclical nature right here where it's going like this, and then it broke out of that into a super cycle.
Wow.
And really, in my opinion, this is where crypto's at right now, is we just had 2 4-year cycles with crypto, and we're actually headed into a super cycle with crypto where it's mass adopted by the public, and it becomes something that every single day people use every day. Not just nerds, not just developers, and not just people that are crypto people, but everyday people. That's what's coming for crypto. So that's what I believe is coming. XRP is not going to be left behind in that. If you look at the XRP chart, this thing looks amazing. It's going to go up so high. Obviously, I'm not going to give price targets, especially since you asked me not to do that specifically because of some YouTube stuff. But essentially, XRP did a pretty typical, let me redo that, did a pretty typical cycle here. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 waves up. I don't know if you know anything about Elliott waves at all.
A little bit.
But there's basically always five waves up and then some type of correction. In this case, we have an expanded flat correction right here with XRP instead of a regular zigzag that looks like this. That's what a zigzag correction looks like. This is what an expanded flat correction looks like. The B wave goes up above like that. And so this is really, whether it goes a little bit lower, I don't think that it will, but everybody has their own view. This is really getting at that point where it's ready to do its next bullish Elliott wave. In other words, all of this becomes a big 1 and 2, and you go for another Elliott wave up. And if you look at Elliott wave principle on Google Images here, you can see pretty quickly that Elliott waves are fractal in nature. In other words, there's a major wave, but then there's little waves inside of that wave. And so that's why you can go, oh, here's 5 waves up and an ABC down. Well, that's all part of a bigger Elliott wave. It's part of a bigger cycle that's happening here for XRP. And I firmly believe that we will get a super cycle for crypto, that we will pump in a significant way for XRP. Obviously, like you said, this isn't financial advice. Obviously, people have to be aware that if they're investing in anything, that there's risk involved and all that good stuff. But I'm pretty dang confident that this is what's coming for XRP and with crypto as a whole, is mass adoption and a super cycle.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm somewhere in between the two worlds of like chart analysis and then the kind of what do we, I want to be careful what I call them, but like chart analysis versus just the influencers and the 589 and all that stuff. You know what I mean? I'm like somewhere in the middle where I see both sides and I just try to stay level-headed and whenever I feel that feeling when we're way up in the market and it's like, now I know I need to be taking 25% out and I cannot lose if I do that. That's kind of been my method. This last cycle though, in early or in late September, before the liquidation, I had taken about maybe 25% out. And then we had the liquidation. I was like, oh my God, I was Zooming with a lady, great lady in Sweden, and I almost started speaking Swedish when I looked at my phone. It was October 10th, and we had that massive liquidation. After we came back up, everybody's like, see, we're fine, we're recovered. I said, you know what? I don't think. I have a feeling that we're that somehow ended this bull run. And it was right when I was hearing all my friends who are in the know saying Clarity Act's coming in October. We get the government shut down. All of a sudden, no Clarity Act, even after the government reopened. But all that, I just made a decision and I sold like pretty much everything in early October after that bounce back up off that. And then I've just
Like right up here.
Yep, it was actually, yeah, September. I did a short where I like couldn't sleep because blockchain backers sold a third, and I literally couldn't sleep and decided to make this little selfie where but anyway, up there, and then right after we bounced back up from the liquidation, I was like, this is painful, but I am hitting the sell button. I'm going to get back in lower, assuming this is a bear market, and I'm glad I did because it's changed my life.
Yeah, that was a smart move, man. That was a really good thing to do. Most people didn't sell right there. But essentially, the way I kind of look at these markets is always the big picture. Even though I'm a technical analyst, I don't really believe in over trading markets. Any trade that's a good trade is a good trade, obviously. So if somebody makes profit doing something, I say go for it. But the way I kind of look at these markets is the big picture investing kind of perspective. For me, crypto is going through the exact same thing that happened to the internet and home computing. So like the internet and home computing had a big bubble, as you know, in the 90s. Then that bubble popped and then it crashed and then it recovered and then it became something everyday people use every day. And if you look right here, here's the total crypto market cap on the left. And here's actually Apple, which is a pretty good representation of home computing and the internet, right? It's just a stock. that's associated with that. But if you look at the Apple stock here and you look at the total crypto market cap right here, you can see early on with Apple, before it became the biggest company in the entire world, before Nvidia finally passed it up, but it was the biggest company in the entire world for quite some time. And what led to that was increasing volume and price. If you look here, there's a bunch of institutional volume right here on Apple. You can see that. Big institutions buying tons right here. And if you look at the total crypto market cap, you also see the big institutions have really been positioning themselves since 2018 and 2019. The volume has just been increasing ever since. So what crypto is really set up to do now is go for super cycle, and that's what the charts are really telling us, is that a super cycle is coming and that it's going to grow in a way that people just can't even imagine right now, because most people are hesitant to new technologies. They have all the, they're skeptical of that kind of stuff. But fact of the matter is, the jack is out of the box. Crypto's here to stay. It's a good thing. It solves a lot of real problems in the world. And the growth that's coming for crypto is going to be completely insane, in my personal opinion. And the charts kind of show it. And you can see, this whole period on Apple really does look shockingly similar to what's happening to the total crypto market cap right now. So I believe a similar thing is going to happen, where crypto basically just starts soaring, not without corrections,
Yeah.
but if you look at this thing, what's happened to Apple since the big institutions got involved right here,
Yeah.
if you look at what happened to Apple stock, I mean, look at that.
It's so incredible to me because really, it is literally like 7% of the people on this planet are in crypto. And my newest content that I've been doing, I've been calling it, just kind of fooling around, calling it crypto dating, where I've been so just baffled by how being in crypto and being successful in crypto has affected my dating life. So what I decided to do, then my one friend says he doesn't really watch my channel much, but I said, you need to watch it if you want to learn to, be in crypto and watch the news. He says, man, your channel needs some more girls or something. So I said, what do you want me to do? Just walk around and ask girls? Girls don't generally like crypto. And he says, that's exactly what I want you to do. And so I just decided to walk up to girls with a microphone and just ask them if they know what crypto is. What does it make you think of when I say crypto? Would you date a guy who was totally all in crypto? And the answers were just amazing. And you can watch that on my channel. I think you said you saw a few of them. But what you're saying with how it's where the internet was before we got mass adoption, I totally see that, because I was still shocked when I did this content how like one or two people that day out of maybe 20 people I approached actually knew something and were able to make some kind of intelligent comment. It really is baffling to me how people are dragging their feet on crypto.
Yeah, it's crazy, man, and I really agree with you that people are still super super under the rock when it comes to crypto. Now, because I have been doing this for long enough, I do know quite a few people in my hometown and stuff that do crypto, but in comparison to the amount of people that are still skeptical or wondering, what is this? Is this even real? It's just crazy, the gap. It's like this many people doing it and like this many people that are just still, hesitant and don't know. And the thing is those people will be forced to adopt crypto, just exactly like what happened to the internet, where people were hesitant, but they had to make their own websites for their businesses, because when everybody starts doing it and it's the way that makes more sense, unless you want to get left behind in the dust, you basically just have to adopt the new technology.
Absolutely.
You have to just do it. So
Okay, so I have to ask. So, Dalin, with my channels, part of the inspiration behind it, most crypto YouTube is about like the chart analysis, like you do, the crypto news, or like Moonboy stuff, or 589 stuff, but my channel, I want to talk about how crypto has impacted our lives in other aspects. How has being in crypto affected your dating life, for example? And you can share as much or as little. I'm just always fascinated. Some people say it hasn't at all, and I don't want to talk about it. Other people, I hear these amazing, interesting stories for hours.
I think overall it's improved it. Most people don't want to, especially, a good girl isn't going to want to be with a guy that just sits around and doesn't do anything with his life and doesn't have a purpose and doesn't care about his financial situation and doesn't have any higher vision or anything that he's good at. And so I believe that having my YouTube channel is something that has been very positive for my dating life overall, because it's something where I have a purpose. I have something that brings joy into my life. I'm focused on creating value for other people. And so I'm not just sitting on the couch watching, TV or whatever, watching football. And there's nothing wrong with football. But a lot of people definitely have that, oh, I'm just going to live on minimums kind of lifestyle and attitude. And then they wonder why, their wife or women are like kind of not that attracted to them because, well, they don't have anything that's a higher purpose or a higher calling in their life. And so they're not a very high value man. They're a pretty low value kind of person. And so that, affects their dating life and stuff. So yeah, I'd say overall it's been really positive on that,
Yeah. Interesting, because mine is a little on the flip side where if I wouldn't have got into crypto, I probably would be married with kids, And then where kind of the girl I was with, she wanted to do the minimums thing, and I didn't
Yeah.
want to. And this one day I said something, like, why are you gonna do that or whatever? And she said, "Oh, I've come to terms with the fact I'm gonna work till I die." Or something. And I said, not if you're with me. That's just not how it's going to be. But I realized that's what she wanted to do. That was the attitude. And for me, somehow it's made my dating life exponentially harder. But
Really?
that's why this conversation's always interesting. But
Well, you're going to end up getting yourself a girlfriend doing that crypto interview thing if you're not
well,
careful.
hey, I've got about 5 girls in my town that want to like have babies with me. I just don't like them, is the honest
Well, I
truth.
mean,
All
that's
right,
why you got to choose. You got to wait to choose the person that you want to be with.
yeah.
But yeah, I think that ultimately it will be positive for your dating life. What it is you're just the people that weren't meant for you are falling away, and the person that is meant for you will come into your life because you're just not on the same frequency as those other people. It's not that you're better than them or anything, but you're just on a different frequency than they are, and you have different goals and different way that you see the world, and so you'll attract the right person into your life. You will.
Well, great.
Yes.
I'm going to keep you posted. Okay, I have some like shotgun questions for you for the last couple minutes of our interview. So we'll go through them kind of quick. What challenges have come from you being in crypto?
So I made a lot of money really fast when I was super young, like crazy, 21 years old, 36 Bitcoin, $250,000 in my checking account. Like, so I had like a bunch of money, right? Really young. But then the markets crashed and I didn't sell the top in 2017 or the 2018 top, whatever. You know what I mean? I didn't sell the top. I kept all my money in the markets. And when the markets crashed, I lost money just as fast as I made it. And then there was this problem where I was also 21 years old and had only filed taxes working at the Marriott Hotel was the only time that I ever filed taxes before. So I was left with this big, making a bunch of money, not filing my taxes in time, losing it before I could file my taxes, and ending up with a big IRS liability that I'm actually still working on getting
Oh, wow.
paid off because, it's $400,000 in IRS debt, right? Which is a lot of money.
Oh, geez.
So that's something that happened to me. That's a big thing, but ultimately I learned a lot from it, and it's all working for my good. And I became a way stronger, way more resilient person because of it. But that was a big thing, That was a
Well,
big. smack in the face basically because of my own choices, but I was young and didn't know all of what I was doing, you know. So that's one thing. Um, and then just, you know, just the emotions of the market, but you get way more resilient. Like overall, everything has actually turned for my favor. But yeah, the emotions of the market was pretty hard some days, you know, pretty
Yeah.
hard on your courage and everything, especially when you have 38,000 subscribers, even though I didn't have that many at the time. You got a bunch of subscribers, people are counting on you. You make a wrong call. Like, yeah, that's hard. You know, you want to lead people in the right direction every time. And sometimes you don't because we're human. So that's been pretty hard. But what it's done is it's made me more resilient. It's taught me to just keep going, keep learning, keep growing, keep becoming a stronger person. And the person that I am today, I'm much more resilient, much more driven, much more educated than I ever would have been if I didn't pursue this path. So
Wow. That is great. I can't thank you enough for coming on and giving me the gift of your time and attention. This has just been really kind of like surreal to me because I've watched you for so long. And yeah, it's just think so. We're up against kind of a hard break. I like to keep these interviews not too long, but I've enjoyed every minute of this.
yeah, thank you for having me on, Sam. This is pretty awesome.
Definitely. Well, maybe we'll do it again sometime if we have some specific questions about the market or something. And so, where can people go if they want to join your Discord or learn from you about technical analysis?
All my free stuff is just my YouTube channel, High Altitude Investing on YouTube. And then, of course, I've got a link for my website there in the description and a link for the free Discord as well. Then I do have my lifetime VIP too for people that want lifetime calls, you know, for the rest of their life. What I think the market's going to do, called the pump on Zcash. A lot of people didn't call that. I've had a lot of good calls on there. Not every call works out, but I've had a lot of good calls I'm really proud of. And so you can get in the lifetime VIP as well that way. So
All right. Something I might be doing here too.
yeah,
Fun.
that'd be cool.
All right. Well, thank you so much. And again, nothing we said is financial or investment advice, just our own personal thoughts, opinions. This is Dalin Anderson with High Altitude Investing. Thank you all so much for watching. Digital Asset Guy and Dalin out.
Stay profitable, everybody.